The days began before sunrise in the quiet rural home where Tieu Nu, a young single mother, faced her reality. Morning brought the bright light shining through her modest house, a reminder of both the challenges and small beauties surrounding her life. Her mind was immediately drawn to her small garden where vegetables struggled amongst overgrown grass, evidence of the constant battle to maintain life with limited resources. The earth, damp and fertile, yet hard to tame, became a metaphor for her own resilience. In this modest plot, she placed her hopes: fresh vegetables for her family, a connection to the land sustaining them against hardship. Tending the garden was no easy task. Patches choked with weeds, laborious efforts were made to clear space for seedlings and plants meant to flourish. Grasses were stubborn, requiring patient pulling and clearing with hands worn rough by previous days' work. The garden seemed to respond to her care, even as the approaching rainy season threatened to undo the delicate balance she strived to maintain. Small successes like ripe bananas brought fleeting joy, their sweetness a simple indulgence in a life defined by austerity. These moments of pleasure were cherished amidst the growing responsibilities and constant decisions demanding her attention. A looming storm shadowed the horizon, clouds heavy and dark, threatening rain that could flood the land or make daily work near impossible. Tieu Nu moved quickly, gathering bamboo stalks near the home to construct a fence around the duck coop, one more barrier against the elements and predators. This work was physically demanding, cutting and bending bamboo in the humid air with a looming threat of wetness pressing in. She moved with practiced efficiency, knowing that shelter and protection for the animals was vital to her family's modest livelihood. The ducks brought eggs and potential income, small but essential threads woven into the fragile economic fabric of their household. Dewey, likely a small child or possibly a pet, was left at home, unable to help but filled with quiet worry for her looming beyond the door. The separation was brief but charged, a symbol of the mother's countless small absences as duties pulled her away. Protective instincts nudged decision-making, balancing work necessities with a deep desire to keep loved ones close and safe. The raincoat was worn with preparation, a precaution against the sudden downpour characteristic of the season. The smell of wet earth and fresh rain mingled with the scent of bamboo wood and growing plants, a sensory tapestry grounding her in this life. The work was relentless despite discomfort and illness. The weather, damp and unstable, weighed heavily on health. Tieu Nu's niche of discomfort hinted at vulnerability masked behind determination. Malaria, a silent tormentor in such rural landscapes, threatened bodily strength, yet was met with quiet endurance. The hardship of physical illness layered on the burden of daily labor and childcare, compounding the weight carried alone. Rest was scarce, often postponed in favor of the pressing needs of home and family. Daily tasks cascaded in a ceaseless flow, feeding animals, tending crops, preparing food, caring for young children. Responsibilities overlapped without pause, demanding an attention that fractured time into fragments. Meals were prepared quickly, often with what little the land and market could provide. Simple, modest sustenance, nourishing not only body but spirit. Each feeding, each comfort given to young ones carried the imprint of love woven tightly with necessity. The interplay between hope and struggle was felt in every corner of the homestead. The vegetable garden symbolized not just food, but the possibility of growth, renewal, and stability. The bamboo fence represented protection and effort, tangible defenses raised against uncertainty. Illness introduced fragility, yet persistence refused to yield. These elements combined in a mosaic of daily life marked by survival and aspiration. Nights brought brief respite, yet did not always grant peace. The mind wrestled with worries about tomorrow's weather, health, and the ability to provide. Sleep came in interrupts, often disturbed by the needs of an infant or anxious thoughts. The interplay of fatigue and resolve fashioned a quiet courage, a mother's armor built not from steel but from love and sheer will. Interaction with the outside world was limited yet filled with warmth. Messages of sympathy and encouragement from viewers and supporters provided fragile social connection, a reminder that despite isolation, bonds of human kindness reached across distance. The inability to respond personally to all messages brought sadness, tempered by understanding of the limits imposed by her burdened life. The cycles of nature and necessity intertwined, demanding constant adaptation. Rain, both feared and welcomed, determined the rhythms of work and rest, planting and harvest. The surrounding landscape, both harsh and generous, was a silent partner in this ongoing narrative of survival. The music of rain on foliage, the rustling of bamboo, the occasional quack of ducks, and the murmur of children's voices filled the spaces between exhaustion and effort. Small victories emerged in the ripening of fruit and the sprouting of seedlings, signs that despite adversity, life endured. These successes fueled hope, reminding Tieu Nu that persistence bore fruit beyond the garden soil. Every meal served, every moment of comfort given, every task completed was a testament to a woman's extraordinary strength and dedication in invisibility. Her role spanned multiple dimensions: farmer, caretaker, protector, provider, and nurturer, each woven seamlessly into the fabric of daily life. The physical labor was matched by emotional exertion, as love for her children motivated sacrifices invisible to the outside observer. These sacrifices created a sanctuary of care and endurance amid scarcity. The relentless pace of work and care continued even as her own body betrayed signs of strain. Symptoms, perhaps of malaria, reminded her of fragility beneath stoicism. Illness was an unwelcome intruder, threatening to disrupt the delicate balance of tasks and responsibilities. Yet rest was limited, pushed aside for the needs of family and survival. Each day's close brought reflection on the endless demands ahead. The mother's resolve to continue, despite pain and fatigue, echoed a profound inner strength. The fear of failure, the duty to children, the hope for a better future created an unbreakable resolve to persevere. The story of these days, a sequence of small, hard-won battles against environment, illness, and scarcity, revealed the quiet heroism in ordinary life. It illuminated the complexities faced by single mothers in rural Vietnam, negotiating survival with love and determination. Their lives, rich in struggle and resilience, offered profound lessons in human endurance and hope. This completes part 1, delivering a long, detailed narrative about the mother's day-to-day life, focusing on her labor, health, environment, and emotional strength in a continuous storytelling style without connecting words. Please confirm if you want me to proceed to part 2. The life began before the sun had fully risen. The gentle light crept into the simple home where Tieu Nu lived with her children. Her world was defined by the tangible and tactile, the feel of earth in her hands as she tended the small garden patch that sustained her family's modest meals. The vegetable bed, though abundant, was choked with stubborn grass. Pulling the weeds by hand was backbreaking work, yet vital to make space for seedlings to take root. This daily interaction with the land anchored her to a cycle of growth and renewal, a deeply physical connection to survival. Ripe bananas hanging heavy brought fleeting delight. The sweet food was nourishment and comfort, a momentary escape from relentless toil. The morning air carried the scent of wet soil and growing plants, filled with the promise and uncertainty of harvest. This microcosm of life's rhythm mirrored the broader challenges she faced. The weather forecast darkened the sky with looming rain. Storm clouds threatened to disrupt the hard-won progress in the garden and farmyard. Tieu Nu moved swiftly to gather bamboo poles close to home, preparing to build a protective fence around the duck coop. This structure was more than a barrier. It was a shield against loss and economic setback. Each bamboo pole was heavy with moisture and expectation, bent and tied with practiced skill. Precision and care in construction were essential, reflecting a balance between urgency and mastery. Leaving young Dewey at home alone was a difficult decision, but necessary. The little one's quiet worry was palpable, a shadow of the mother's own anxious heartbeat. The mother's presence was felt even in absence, a tether of love crossing distance and time. The decision to don a raincoat against sudden storms was a pragmatic armor, a shield against the mercurial elements that shaped her life. Her day was punctuated by a growing discomfort, an unwelcome physical malaise. The changing weather brought on symptoms, fatigue, a deep heaviness that hinted at the possibility of malaria, a silent adversary haunting rural life. The illness tested her limits, threatening to undermine the delicate equilibrium between care for others and self-maintenance. She bore the growing pain silently, masking vulnerability beneath a strong endurance. Daily work was a complex choreography. Feeding ducks and chickens, tending the garden, preparing meals, soothing and caring for children, each task executed with rhythmic precision. Time was fragmented, divided between urgent demands and smaller moments of respite. The body moved automatically, the mind focused yet worn. These loops of care and labor were unending, a continuous thread woven through the fabric of her day. Food preparation was modest but suffused with intention. Every meal was a testament to resourcefulness and love. The ingredients were simple and often limited, yet the act of feeding was a ceremony, a moment of nurturing that reinforced connection and hope. The mother's hands moved deftly, transforming humble produce into sustenance that fueled the household endurance. Interactions beyond home were rare but meaningful. Messages and comments from viewers, friends, and supporters provided unseen solidarity. The inability to respond to all affirmations brought quiet sadness, but underscored the confines of her life's capacity. These connections were threads extending beyond isolation, pockets of human kindness amidst solitude. This life, shaped by weather and season, illness and care, toil and hope, painted a vivid canvas of reality, brutal yet beautiful, fragile yet forceful. Each small victory was a triumph over uncertainty, a claim staked for survival and dignity. The narrative revealed the dignity within struggle and the fierce joy born of love's persistence. The life of single women in rural Vietnam is a complex tapestry woven of freedom, challenge, societal expectation, and personal strength. Many choose singlehood not from defeat, but through deliberate choice or circumstance, seeking freedom from restrictive social norms or difficult relationships. Some embrace the solitude and autonomy it offers, finding joy in self-determination and personal growth. These women may prioritize career, self-care, or community contributions over traditional family roles. For many, happiness lies not in marriage, but in living authentically on their own terms, bonded by friendships, children, and social ties beyond romantic partnerships. However, this path is often met with social stigma, especially in more traditional rural contexts, where single women may face judgment or pity. The pressure to conform to norms such as marriage and motherhood can weigh heavily. Women who do not marry or who head households alone without a spouse must navigate not only economic hardships, but also cultural misconceptions and isolation. Despite these pressures, many find resilience in community support, peer networks, and an unwavering dedication to raising children and sustaining livelihoods. Despite hardships, many such women redefine strength through adaptability and determination. They cultivate not only crops, but resilience, negotiating systemic issues and personal setbacks with creativity and persistence. Community cooperation, exchanging knowledge, and reliance on friends and relatives offer vital support structures. For these women, home is a microcosm of endurance and hope, where every small harvest, every secured meal, and every child nurtured represents a reclaiming of agency amidst adversity. In rural Vietnam, economic and cultural shifts have increased some women's autonomy, offering new opportunities for education, entrepreneurship, and participation in decision-making within households. Some embrace roles beyond traditional domesticity, becoming local businesswomen, community leaders, or activists. These shifts contribute to evolving perceptions of womanhood and family, but do not eliminate entrenched challenges related to gender roles, poverty, and social expectations. The experience of singlehood intersects variably with age, personal history, and social circumstances. Younger single mothers often contend with judgment related to early pregnancies, disrupted education, and social isolation, while older single women may struggle with loneliness, health issues, and diminished social networks. Both groups, however, frequently exhibit formidable courage and resourcefulness in crafting fulfilling lives despite societal hurdles. Cultural festivals and traditions remain important touchstones for connection and identity among single women and their families. Celebrations like Tet offer rare occasions to reaffirm family bonds and community belonging, essential for emotional sustenance. However, financial constraints often necessitate modest observances, underscoring the underlying tension between desire to participate fully and economic realities. Single women's mental health issues, including loneliness and stress, are significant yet under-addressed, especially in rural areas with limited health infrastructure. Isolation and social stigma exacerbate risks of depression and chronic illness. Community-based initiatives, peer support groups, and public awareness campaigns have begun to address these gaps, fostering solidarity and empowerment. The life of a single mother in rural Vietnam is a story of fierce resilience, grounded in everyday battles fought against hardship, social stigma, and economic instability. These women embody strength and determination as they navigate a complex world shaped by tradition and change. In many cases, single mothers like Tieu Nu transform adversity into opportunity, building lives rich with love, hope, and hard-won success despite limited means. Health challenges shadow this demanding routine. The specter of illnesses such as malaria looms large, exacerbated by poverty and limited access to medical care. The mother's growing physical discomfort, possibly malaria symptoms, threatens her ability to maintain the exhausting labor her family depends on. Illness introduces a precarious fragility to her life, complicating the endless tasks of caregiving, farming, and household management. Coping with sickness while caring for young children highlights the extraordinary physical and emotional burdens single mothers bear. The line between strength and vulnerability blurs in these circumstances. Education remains a cornerstone of aspiration. Providing children with schooling offers a pathway out of poverty and hope for a brighter future. Single mothers often make tremendous sacrifices to support their children's learning, allocating scarce financial resources toward fees, supplies, and transportation. The symbolic importance of education extends beyond practical utility. It embodies dreams of transcendence and social mobility. Every school day attended by their child is a victory, a step towards a life less burdened by the hardships they now face. Community involvement, including participation in cooperative projects, local markets, and social programs, enriches lives and broadens opportunities. Women engage in entrepreneurial activities, small-scale farming, and craftsmanship to supplement incomes. These economic efforts are intertwined with communal ties, fostering mutual aid and resilience. Collaboration among women and supportive neighbors creates a social fabric that cushions some of the worst impacts of poverty and solitude. Shared experience ignites collective energy and reinforces dignity. Cultural traditions retain vital importance despite hardship. Festivals like Tet symbolize renewal, family connection, and cultural identity. Even with limited resources, single mothers strive to maintain these celebrations, reinforcing hope and providing children with joyous experiences. Such rituals bridge generations and place individual lives within a larger temporal and societal order. Participation in cultural life affirms belonging, anchoring identity in rich historical currents. Stories of success among rural single mothers inspire and challenge stereotypes of victimhood. Women transform adversity into opportunity through education, entrepreneurship, and social engagement. Some gain recognition as local leaders, advocates, and role models. These narratives highlight agency and creativity, showing pathways forward grounded in determination and community support. They demonstrate that strength often emerges from networks of care and courage rather than solitary struggle. Tieu Nu's story, framed by these broader themes, reveals the nuanced reality of rural single motherhood in Vietnam. It embodies the interconnectedness of nature, labor, family, society, and identity. Her days filled with garden work, animal care, child-rearing, and community interaction bring into focus the depth and breadth of endurance required to create a life of dignity and hope. Her perseverance in the face of illness, social challenges, and economic scarcity reflects human capacity for resilience and adaptation. Each difficult choice, each small triumph in the garden or celebration, each act of love and courage contributes to a mosaic of survival and meaning. Her narrative, like those of many others, enriches the understanding of motherhood itself, not as a static role, but as a dynamic, evolving journey marked by strength, sorrow, joy, and unwavering commitment. Cultural traditions retain vital importance despite hardship. Festivals like Tet symbolize renewal, family connection, and cultural identity. Even with limited resources, single mothers strive to maintain these celebrations, reinforcing hope and providing children with joyous experiences. Such rituals bridge generations and place individual lives within a larger temporal and societal order. Participation in cultural life affirms belonging and continuity, anchoring identity and rich historical currents. Stories of success among rural single mothers inspire and challenge stereotypes of victimhood. Women transform adversity into opportunity through education, entrepreneurship, and social engagement. Some gain recognition as local leaders, advocates, and role models. These narratives highlight agency and creativity, showing pathways forward grounded in determination and community support. They demonstrate that strength often emerges from networks of care and courage rather than solitary struggle.